I'm going to show you how these bolts go in. You see this plastic retainer? Well, that's what you push it all the way down and then turn it till it gets tight against your wax ring. And then there's still a chance of this thing rolling over if you hit it wrong, but in any case, at least it'll hold this thing up straight. Okay. Now the last thing you want to look at before you put your wax ring on is take this out and then look around. The last thing you want to look at, you want to make sure you don't have any holes. Get your flashlight and shine down inside your lead bin, because sometimes the rats will get underneath the house. They'll chew a hole in them, and then you got sewer underneath the house. But this is where that lead bin comes up and solders onto this brass ring. You can probably see that. You want to make sure that it looks soldered all the way around. You want to check it real well. Alright, now I liked these open. I like these open wax rings more than I do with the one with that black ring we put on there, because there's less chance of this one stopping up. And a lot of people will put these on the commode I like to put them on the brass ring. Less chance of it falling off the commode onto the floor, and then you're not noticing it if you don't put it on there right. Okay, make sure this thing is, and push it down so it doesn't slip on you. You want to make sure your two bolts are dead center with your hole, because as you're dropping that commode on there, you don't want to have to move it around. Okay, we're ready to put the commode in. I've got the water supply line, and it's always better to have a little longer one than a short one, because that way you can run a loop around it rather than having one too short and having to put a kink in it. So just remember that. Longer is better. Alright, we're going to get the commode and get her put in. We're not going to put it together. We're going to put it piece by piece because this thing is so heavy. One thing I forgot to mention is that when they talk about the rough end, either a 12 or a 10 inch, but they used to have 10 inch rough ends years ago. They still make commodes for them. They're not as easy to find as they used to be. They're talking about the rough end from 10 inches from this bolt, which is the center of the hole, back to the wall. Well, here we go. Oh boy, these new commodes are so heavy. You just have to keep your eye on those mounting bolts. And you have to, once you get it set, then whatever it takes to push that wax down and seal it. Yeah, it's just a matter of getting your bolts on there. I got that tight, but all you want is just snug it up. Shut the commode, make sure it's tight. If it's just a little loose, you can snug it up a little bit. But if you need to shim it up, use plastic, like plastic's off of a, let's just say, a lunch meat box. I mean a box that where your lunch meat comes in. You can cut up that box and use those things as shims to get it up under there. If you have, if you can move this thing, because once you get your, really you're supposed to put your linoleum or whatever you want to in first, not carpet but linoleum, before you put your commode down. I guess I should have mentioned that in the beginning. But linoleum or tile or whatever, all that goes down first before your commode goes in. Carpet goes in last. But once you get this in, what you want to do is you want to caulk around the base of this thing all the way around. The back, side, front, everything. Because if you do get if you do have a mishap and somebody hits the outside of the commode, at least it won't run under. At least it won't run under the commode and cause a smell later. It's best to keep whatever is on the outside, and what's on the inside, on the inside. On some commodes, this is not installed on the bottom of your tank. So what you need to do is you need to make sure this is on there and your bolts are stuck in there. There's a rubber gasket that goes on there that fits over the flush valve. Okay, we need to make sure we push these down in there. This is a Kohler, by the way. American Standard, everybody's different. But you want to make sure your rubber washers are on the inside of the tank and not on the outside. I wish that Kohler would make is a plastic nut driver that would torque these screws on this tank down to a certain tightness and then slip like a torque wrench, because you're talking about metal against glass, and you know what happens when you tighten up something metal against glass, it's going to crack. So we're going to tighten this up with these. We're just going to be real careful and not try to listen for the crack. We got our bolts on, got them tight. Our tank doesn't move, that's good. Tighten this up with your hand, tight as you can get it. And then once you tighten that up, you want to make sure that your bottle cock hasn't moved. We got all this tight, so now we're fixing to turn the water on. As our water is filling up the tank, you want to check for any leaks. Make sure you don't have any. And of course this will take about a minute to fill up. These Fluid Master bottle cocks, I think, are the best bottle cocks on the market. They've got some others, but these things are so easy to change the washer in there. And I will show you on the next video how to do that. It's pretty simple. Some of them are a little difficult because they're so old, but in any case, alright, we got water coming in, we've got filled up, and we're waiting to go through the first flush. Alright, the moment of truth. That's working. This is one of those, you hold it down longer for number 2, you just barely push it down real quick for number 1. That's a good feature for Kohler. Alrighty. Only other thing is your toilet seat, and that's a fairly simple thing to put on. Well, good luck on your project.